Well, as the great Giorgio Chiellini once said, it's the history of the England football team. But welcome back to the World Cup recap, day 32 of the tournament. We have the second semi-final. We've already had the first one go down between France and Spain. Spain obviously coming out on top of that one. Now, I did say that they would be the favorite regardless of who comes out of this matchup. I'll touch on a little bit more about that in the end, but for now, we've got to talk about this insane matchup. Two teams that have so much history, and that is, of course, England against Argentina. This is, I believe, the sixth meeting between these two teams at the World Cup, with England winning the first two in 1962 and 1966. But it was in the later matchups where this rivalry really started to take hand, and in particular, 1986, where Diego Maradona put on one of the all-time World Cup performances, not only scoring one of the greatest goals of all time, but also scoring one of the most infamous ones as well. But regardless, Argentina took that win en route to winning their second World Cup. But now 40 years later, we have Lionel Messi stepping into play his first ever game against England. Kind of crazy to think about that. Over 20 years playing in the Argentinian national team, and he's never played against this team. In fact, he actually came really close to playing England in one of the first matches he played with the team back in 2005, although he couldn't because he was infamously handed a straight red card about less than a minute into his Argentinian debut, stopping him from playing in that 2005 friendly. But 21 years goes by, 39 years of age, Messi at this point has completed all of football. But to really put him next to Maradona as far as his accomplishments with the national team, a win against this side with all the history that this matchup has brought will just be the icing on top. As for the lineups on both sides, Thomas Tuchel decided to switch things up a little bit for England, with Reece James returning at right back, Jed Spence making a start at left back, and Morgan Rogers making his start at the right wing. Pretty interesting selections, but I was pretty good with it. Rogers in particular was a guy that I really credited in their last game against Norway as a guy who came on late in the game and had such a big impact. Obviously, he had that shot that led up to that winning Bellingham goal. But I feel like up to this point, he really hasn't been given too much opportunity. I get that the wing positions and even the 10 position for England has been so loaded throughout this tournament. It's hard to get all those guys in and get them evenly, but regardless, happy to see Rogers get some playing time here and get some big one here in a big spot in the semifinal. And the same goes with Jed Spence. He's looked really good off the bench for this team. He was a guy that heading into this tournament, a lot of people didn't really know much about. Maybe some people felt like he didn't really deserve a spot to be here, but he has written all of that off, especially, again, going back to that Norway game where he came off the bench, brought an instant jolt of energy, almost got himself a great chance late in that game, and obviously drew the penalty that ended up getting called back. But regardless, you like what you see from on the attacking side, and even the defensive side, he's impressed as well. And as for Argentina, they went with a similar-ish lineup. They went with a 4-4-2 without Rodrigo de Paul in the starting lineup. And of course, the same strike force of Lionel Messi and Julian Alvarez. Now, as I've said before, in the lead up to this game, I expected this to be absolute fireworks. From the jump, I expected both teams to be at each other's necks and causing some havoc. And the first 3 minutes did not disappoint. Instantly, both sides were going at it, arguing with each other, arguing with the officials. It was just everything that I hoped for, except for the fact that this wasn't as much of a high-scoring affair as I thought it would be. Obviously, in the second half, things turned out the way they did, and I'll get onto that stuff. But the first half didn't bring as much of that urgency as I really thought, especially, again, when you saw those initial moments of the teams going at it, you really felt like someone was going to really go out there and give that team that big start, but that wasn't the case with Lionel Messi. I don't think he had very many touches, if any touches, inside England's box throughout that first half. There was obviously a couple of big set-piece chances for either sides. John Stones had a big one, Enzo Fernandez as well, but nothing too troubling. It was, again, more so about the dramatic stuff in England not being afraid to be physical on Messi, and of course, Argentina would take every opportunity to reciprocate that. I know Enzo Fernandez had a big challenge early on in that one. Elliot Anderson would return the favor a couple minutes later on Lionel Messi. It was that kind of game, which, again, very much expected between these two teams, with all the history between them, all the politics in the air as well. It was all going to come out. But as said, the first half didn't provide too many fireworks, and it remained 0-0. But as I said, you really felt like something was in the air. Not that there was any, since they were in an enclosed stadium, but regardless, you knew that both teams would come out in the second half really trying to establish themselves, and England did just that. Once again, Argentina have struggled to really defend counters in this tournament. They like to bring most of their guys up to the attacks, and when they face teams like Egypt and even Switzerland, they've caused them a lot of problems when it comes to the counters, and England was no different. With England getting the ball back, Morgan Rogers was sprinting down the right wing. He had a lot more pace than I thought he had, to be fair, but it's a brilliant sequence as Gordon crosses it to the other side, and Anthony Gordon is right on the end of it. He gets his first goal of the tournament, a big one at that, as England take the lead. This looked to be a massive momentum shift in this game. Argentina were sort of the ones in control, but again, when they struggle to defend those counters, they're very much open to getting caught out. And we know Anthony Gordon in particular is a guy with a lot of pace down the left-hand side, but in the end, he's the one that's finishing that chance. When their wingers get that space and aren't afraid to just charge at the defense and go in behind, good things happen. We've seen it through periods of this tournament, but Bukayo Saka in particular has had a couple of those moments. But in this case, Morgan Rogers, again, starting on the right, not his usual spot, but he for sure made it work in that sense, as once again, Argentina are backed into the corner. And again, to that point, it looked like England had a number on them. Messi wasn't able to get going. Declan Rice was holding down that midfield, followed up by a defense that looked so determined not to concede. Jed Spence hauling to get back and making that huge tackle. That to me looked like a game-changing moment right there. When he made that tackle, it really felt like this was going to be England's time. If they kept things up, if they kept things going throughout the rest of this game, they would be good. However, this brings me to one Thomas Tuchel. I said in England's quarterfinal against Norway about obviously the stuff that happened after and his response to saying, the team wasn't playing well and whatever. I said that despite what people may think about Thomas Tuchel and how he's gotten the team to this point, he cannot be immune to criticism. I've been critical of some of his choices and some of his decisions throughout this tournament, in particular from the Norway game where I felt like he was playing way too passive in that one, not really trying to give England that chance to win the game until Jude Bellingham delivered that moment in extra time. The same could also be said for the group games, but regardless of that, that was something that I was a little bit worried about, and it happened today once again. Where in the last 20 to 30 minutes of the game, he decided to go back to the Mexico strategy, where if you remember that game, England managed to hold on to a 1-goal lead for the last 30 minutes, down 10 men, and essentially going full defensive, which in that sense, I actually credited Tuchel. Not necessarily because of the move itself of going defensive, but because England had to do it. When you're down a man, you're really not left with much other choice. You have to be able to make up for it with all your guys in that position. It also helps that it's Mexico at the end of the day. Yes, they had threats like Julian Quinones, but he didn't even finish the game, so realistically, there wasn't too much of a threat from them. However, in this case, this is Argentina. Instead of worrying about a 17-year-old playing his first games of the World Cup, you're worrying about a 39-year-old who has played more World Cup games than any other player, has scored more goals and more assists than any other player, and has been known throughout this tournament to really step up in the later part of games. We saw this team already make that comeback once against Egypt, another team that decided to be defensive to their own downfall as Argentina completed one of the greatest comebacks in World Cup history, as they were now set to do a similar thing. And Tuchel just allowed it. With him taking off Anthony Gordon, their goal scorer for Ezri Konsa, then 10 minutes later, he brings Dan Burn and Nico O'Reilly on, taking off the likes of Reece James and Declan Rice. I get those guys are not 100% and you got to take them off, I get that. But to make those 3 substitutions, all of them for defense, that was very, very shallow from him. And to no one's surprise, in the last 30 minutes, Argentina fully controlled the game. Messi was starting to get going, creating chances left, right, and center. Pickford had to step up multiple times with some big saves. But from that point, you just felt like England were going to blow this. They were going to concede at least one and pray maybe it goes to extra time and maybe they could somehow try to pull some stuff from there. I don't know. But whatever it was not going to work. And we certainly saw that in this one. In the 85th minute, Enzo Fernandez sits just outside the box. Has plenty of room since, again, even England with pretty much all their team behind the ball, they still have no one pressuring Enzo Fernandez outside the box. He's already had a couple of cracks from that area, but in this one, he made no mistake. He picked out Jordan Pickford, sent it into the top of the net, and Argentina got the equalizer. Again, with Enzo, we saw him step up in the Egypt game, getting that winning goal. He steps up here once again in a huge way. And again, I'm just shocked that England, considering how many players they had back, they had no one pressuring Enzo in that position. Even Messi, when he was all the way back there, no one was there. Like, man, if you're going to play that kind of way and play with all those players behind the ball, you got to have some guys be on the ball and pressure it, man. Just ridiculous. But obviously Argentina were not done there, because once they got that first goal, they smelled blood. They knew England was not going to change. They had already gone way too deep as far as their defensive mindset throughout this game. And even after that goal, Thomas Tuchel decided no changes needed to be made, despite the fact that England still had 2 subs left. And once again, Argentina, they just kept going and kept going. Plenty of chances left and right. They hit the post on one of them, and it falls to Lionel Messi. And once again, considering England have 11 players on their own end, no one seems to get the ball after it hits the post. They just leave Messi alone, leaving with plenty of time and space. He picks out Lautaro Martinez, and he puts the header away easy as you'd like. For a striker of his caliber, he's going to put that away every single time. He comes off the bench and delivers once again. Argentina take a 2-1 lead. It took them just 7 minutes to get both of those goals. And all of a sudden, it had all gone away from England. Just like it has time after time after time after time. It doesn't matter who they have, doesn't matter what it is, it always seems to fall apart when it matters most. And no matter what they did or what they tried, even after they made the substitutions of trying to bring on some forward players, again, they had gone far too deep as far as bringing on 3 defenders off the bench, taking off a key midfielder and a key forward, and they just got nothing. Argentina still controlled the game. They still controlled the ball. They did what they had to do, and they took the 2-1 win. Fair play to Argentina. I will discuss them a little bit later on as far as how they went into this game and everything they did good and not good and whatever. But England, man, how do you do it again? I know I shouldn't be frustrated because this is England. This is what they do. Every single tournament, they always find a way to lure you in. They bring you with some kind of hope, some kind of, moment that makes you think, this is different. This team feels different. This team is this team is that. They could win the whole thing. They only have to beat these guys. They haven't been that good. All of these things, you get sucked into it, even as a neutral, where I've done nothing but enjoy England lose every single tournament. But this tournament, it actually did feel different, especially after that Mexico game. I honestly felt like from that point forward, this team had enough in them to win the World Cup. Genuinely. Now, obviously, in these last 2 games, the performances has not really been up to that caliber. And what do you know? When they face a team like Argentina that has an absolute game changer like Lionel Messi, that's what happens, man. It's a 90-minute game for a reason. You can't pat yourself on the back saying, we stopped Lionel Messi for 80 minutes. Yeah, what did he do in the last 20 minutes? He absolutely tore you apart and ended your tournament because that's what he does. Even when he's not scoring goals, today we saw how big he was in the playmaking side. The last 3 games, he's had, 4 assists? Just absolutely insane. And once again, this all falls back to Thomas Tuchel. Like I said before, this is not Mexico. He thought that he could do the exact same thing and it would be totally fine. But it absolutely backfired, man. And to no one's surprise, he came out in the press and said, I've got no regrets. He tried to kind of deflect things onto the team, which, yeah, of course your players aren't going to be aggressive when you put on 3 defenders and you take off your best midfielder, you take off your best winger to that point in Anthony Gordon, who got you the 1-0 lead in the first place. How are you supposed to be surprised when your team has 12% of the possession after the 1-0 goal? That is ridiculous, man. Again, England, to that point, especially in the early part of the second half, were doing everything right. They had the control of this game. They had Messi and co completely on the ropes. Again, not the first time this has happened for Argentina, but still, with the amount of quality that this team has, this is not Egypt, for God's sake. They don't have to go defensive to end this game. They're not down to 10 men like they were against Mexico. They had everything in them to finish that game the way that they were playing. Keep pumping it against Argentina. Keep putting all of that pressure on because, again, Argentina, we know and we've seen them throughout this tournament, they do not handle things well when they go on the counter. That was working, and then all of a sudden, you take off Anthony Gordon, all of a sudden that threat's gone. How am I supposed to be shocked by that? Because I'm not. Again, I know Argentina's done these comebacks before. I know England's done these defensive things before, but this is different, man. It's the World Cup semifinal. You're playing for a spot in the final, something this country hasn't gone to since they won it in 1966. It was right in their grasp, and Tuchel just threw it all away. He did. As much as I want to say it's harsh for people saying that, oh, I don't want to see Tuchel manage this team anymore. I think he's gone. He's this, he's that. I honestly completely see it with them. This guy was brought in for one reason and one reason only. To get this team fully prepared and fully in the best spot to win the World Cup. And Thomas Tuchel repeatedly throughout this tournament did not do that. Like he said, England got to this point because of their mentality and because of their individual brilliance, not because of any kind of tactical masterclass from Thomas Tuchel. The only thing I gave him credit was for the Mexico thing, which again, they did that because of necessity because they were down to 10 men. This was completely different. He did not need to do that. He completely messed up what was a good thing going for England, and now he has them crashing out of the World Cup once again. 60 plus years now this streak is going on for. They're not going to win it until 2030, and who knows what the Euros are going to be like. There's going to be a lot of pressure 2 years from now when they're the ones hosting it again. And that's not the only things that I've a problem with as far as his decisions throughout this game. Where was Bukayo Saka? On one hand, it's funny considering the whole Saka versus Messi jokes that were going around ahead of this game, but the fact that he didn't even touch the pitch, again, especially in that situation, after Argentina makes it 1-1, after they make it 2-1, he brings on Ivan Toney? Like, I don't even know what to say anymore, man. Like, genuinely, there's nothing I like seeing more. I've said this before. Seeing England fail repeatedly at World Cups and how it's always something new every single time, but like, this is genuinely frustrating, man. They have it right in their grasp. It's not like Argentina were just miles better than them. They weren't until England allowed them to be. And from what I've seen, I haven't read too much into some of the other criticisms, right? But I'm glad to see that for this time around, people are blaming this on Thomas Tuchel and not going straight at the guys like Jude Bellingham and Harry Kane, who, yes, weren't at their best today. Yes, they didn't manage to score. But what those guys have done throughout this tournament, again, they've showed repeatedly their individual brilliance. Kane doing it against DR Congo in the first round. Bellingham in the last two games against Mexico and Norway. Again, even the likes of Anthony Gordon and Morgan Rogers, they've all had moments of quality. But once again, it was Thomas Tuchel's decisions today of going all defensive, everyone behind the ball, playing so scared that cost him this game. And evidently cost England another chance to win the World Cup. Simple as that. And again, I just feel so bad for the likes of Kane and Bellingham, man. Like, those two in particular have been instrumental throughout this tournament. And for them, and particularly for Kane, this could actually end up being his last World Cup. Who knows? But they just blew it completely, man. And once again, it just becomes the same song and dance throughout the last couple of years of England bringing you in, getting the hope, and letting you down completely. It's always one thing or another, whether it's losing on penalties or late goals, which is kind of becoming more the theme now in the last couple of years. But, yeah. And now on to Argentina. How does this team keep doing it, man? How do they keep doing it? Well, one, it's obviously because they have Lionel Messi. And this tournament, more than any other one, he's proven himself to be one of the most clutch performers I've seen in any sport. Not just this sport, but in general. This is going to go down, regardless if this is win or loss, one of the all-time World Cup campaigns from a single player. The fact that this guy is 39 years old. 39 years old. Scored a hat-trick in his first game against Algeria. Scored twice against Austria to break the World Cup record. Came off the bench when he absolutely didn't need to, and scored against Jordan. Then round of 32, he scores and sets up two others from set pieces. Against Egypt, got the assist and the goal that sparked the comeback. Against Switzerland, got the assist on the first goal from McAllister. And then this game, the two assists to beat England. He's gone a goal contribution in every single game in this tournament. At 39 years old. If you told me that would be the case, I no way I'd believe you. No way. This guy playing in MLS for the last however many years. And even rumors of that he may not be fully there at the World Cup. But at this point, bring on 28 Copa America, bring on 2030. Like, at this point, there's no limit for him. There's absolutely none. No team, no occasion No situation is too big for him. He's proven that time and time again. And again, I know there's been a lot about this tournament with Argentina, and I've sort of expressed that as well to an extent. But this game really opened my eyes to how different this guy is and what he does for his country and how he galvanizes his team. It's insane, man. I've never seen another player like this in any sport. One that just seemingly possesses not only himself to perform in those late moments, but his entire team. Like, it's so insane that every time, 4 games now they've clutched up. Extra time late goal against Cape Verde. Comeback against Egypt. Late in extra time against Switzerland. And now comeback against England. At this point, no matter how good Spain is, again, I've said what I've said about Spain, and they're going to be another level for this Argentina team, but they've proven it time and time again. When everyone's saying, oh, Egypt could take them, they struggled with Cape Verde. Oh, Switzerland could take them, they struggled against Egypt. Oh, England could take them, they struggled against Switzerland. Doesn't matter. Argentina has not made it easy for themselves in this World Cup. They haven't. But they don't care. They don't care. Likewise with Spain and how they've gone about things. They don't care if they win by 2, 3, 4 goals. They win games. Argentina, they don't care if they have to score in the 90th minute or score in extra time. As long as they win, that's all they want. That's all they need. One more win separates these next 2 teams from winning the World Cup. That's all it is. Argentina have proven time and time again they don't have to be the better team for 60, 70, 80 minutes. They just need 7 minutes today. And they got their 2 goals that brought them back. That's all it takes, man. That's all it takes for this team. That's all it takes for Lionel Messi. And it hasn't been just him. Again, this is the impact of what he is. It's not just him that brings these moments. Julian Alvarez in the last game. That was more on him, but still. But Enzo Fernandez. Unbelievable strike. His second one of the knockout stage. Lautaro Martinez as well. Like, this is what this team is, man. And even the defense as well. For all the talk about that defense and how shaky they were, they played great today. Christian Romero in particular, what a performance. Both as a defender, but also on the ball. He was sensational. There was one moment in the game where he was like almost caught up in a bad spot. He had to dribble out, and he did it so easily. He looked like a winger. He looked like Lamine Yamal doing that, honestly. That was just amazing. And again, he looked possessed. Now, from what I understand, the reason that is because apparently Gary Neville was talking trash before the game, saying that those two are the best, worst center back partnership. And well, he made sure to let him know after the game, him and Lisandro, obviously. It's not the only thing that happened after the game. We saw Bellingham kind of lose it a bit on pushing, I think it was Barco. I don't know if he might have said something or whatever, but yeah, he was getting a brunt of all of the Argentinian celebrations, as they tend to do. But yeah, at the end of the day, you can never doubt this team. You can never doubt what they do, and you can also never doubt England to find new ways to just completely throw away their World Cup dreams. Well, Messi and Argentina's live on for another day, as they are again just 1 game away from winning their 4th World Cup, which would put them level with Germany and Italy, as well as become the first team to win back-to-back World Cups since their rivals Brazil did back in 1962. What a story that would be. And also Messi would get to do the thing that Maradona never did, because he was also 1 game away from going back-to-back in 1990, obviously losing to West Germany. So could be a similar scenario here with Spain. We'll wait and see. But yeah, that's going to be a great final, man. Messi versus Yamal, the picture of Messi's washing Yamal back in like 2008 or 2009, whenever that was. You'll probably see that a lot more in the next couple of days, and as well as all the other images of Messi with some of Spain's young guys, or in particular the Barcelona ones, you know. But yeah, what a game that's going to be. Spain, Argentina. Absolutely cannot wait for that. What a World Cup final we're going to have on Sunday. But that is going to do it for this day recap of the World Cup. Just like that, we are down to 2 more teams. I know the other 2 teams still technically play their third place game. To be honest, I'm not too worried about that. I'm probably not even going to make a video on that unless like Mbappe or Bellingham or Kane scores a hat trick, then maybe. But other than that, that's a throwaway game. It's all about Sunday for the World Cup final. Once again, thank you so much for watching. Make sure to please like and subscribe for daily World Cup content. Although having said that, the days are starting to run out completely. And man, it's going to be really weird not seeing World Cup football in the next couple of days and after when the dust finally settles and we can finally look back at how crazy this month has truly been. It's been one of the greatest World Cups, especially being able to experience it in person and all this kind of stuff. It just hits different, man. It really does. And yeah, man. Hopefully Sunday can just provide that crown on top, kind of like 2022. I'm not expecting anything like 2022 to be honest, but we'll see. We can only hope for an incredible game and hope we get the Messi-Yamal duo that we absolutely killing for, man. The new generation against the old generation. I mean, doesn't get much better than that, to be honest. But yeah, can't wait for that once again. But for now, let's play football.